think we're just going to start with if anybody has questions, comments, anything about Google. Is that right, Neil?
Yeah, it's pretty much just an open, you ask me and we're going to try to answer or help you guys in any way we can.
So I have a question, even though you said you didn't know much about Google Classroom. One of my questions is, so do I clean out and archive like all of my classes from this year and just like how do I transition from this year to next year in the most effective way?
Hey everyone, I'm just sort of plugging this video in to show and answer a question a little bit better that we had in today's presentation. So the question was about cleaning up your Google Classrooms. So if I go to one of my classrooms, I'll go to here, Mrs. Colty's Coaching Corner. Without opening it up, there are 3 dots here. And when you click those 3 dots, archive is the bottom option. So if I click archive, it's going to say archiving a class causes it to be archived for all participants. So that means any students that I had in my class, any teachers I was sharing this with, is going to be archived for all of them. And it can't be modified any longer. You will have access to your archive class, so any work or anything that's in there, you will still have it, and it will still be in your Google Drive. So I'm going to go ahead and say archive. And now when I go to the 3 lines up here, and I scroll to the bottom, there's a spot that says archived classes. So I can click on that. Then I can come up here and it says Mrs. Colty's Corner, Coaching Corner. I decided that actually I really don't want to archive my class after all. So then I can just click Restore. And that is how you archive. So again, when you do archive, you still have access. It's like a view-only access to all of your documents and things that are in there. And we also talked about in the training today about checking and making sure that you've turned everything in for your students, that they've received all feedback and that kind of thing, because if not, then they won't be able to get it and see after you've archived it. The other quick thing that I can show you with this same, I'm going to go up here and say that I don't want to be part of Mr. Grote's class any longer. So I'm going to click on those 3 dots. Oh, hold on a second. I'm still in archive classes. So I'm going to go back to my classes. And I'm going to say I don't want to be part of, I think they switched on me. Okay, I'm not going to be part of this class anymore. So click the 3 dots. And then I'm going to click on Leave Class. And yes, I know I don't want to be part of it any longer, so leave class. And now it won't show up on my dashboard any longer. The same as the mentor. So again, it's those 3 dots, and I can unenroll. Because I was a student in that class. So any of your students, that's what they can see. They can unenroll. So here's another one that I was a teacher in. So that's going to be leave class. And if I can find another one that I was a student in, I think this test class. Nope. This one. So this one I'm a student in. So I can click unenroll. And then as a student, I won't be part of that class anymore. And the teacher will get a notification about that too. So I hope this helps clarify some of that piece. And if you have any other questions, feel free to reach out.
Does everybody know how to update their Chrome browser if they need to? Or at least check for updates. That's something that comes up every so often.
Wasn't it usually turn your 3 dots into something like an orange arrow or something like that?
Yeah, the triple dot is key. You kind of always look for that, and that came up yesterday as well, where you're usually going to find the tools you need up there in that triple dot.
Neil, mine might be kind of just a me question, but I have been having issues with my camera. As you can see, I have it on right now. My screen's black, and I don't have any updates. I checked, so I don't know. I just wondered if you had any troubleshooting.
Do you have one of those sliders over the camera that might be closed?
Oh my God. I never knew there was that teeny tiny slider above the little camera thing. And yeah, I just slid it all the way to the right, and that was all it was. Oh my God.
There you go.
Thank you, Neil.
Did you guys have any questions or anything about anything specific, or student Chromebooks, your Google account, using mobile devices and not your school device, anything like that?
I don't have a question, but that was a good call on the slider.
Neil, what about all of our camera equipment and like microphone and stuff? I labeled all mine and put it in the boxes. It was this wonderful feeling. I'd like to get rid of it, but should I just keep it?
I'm not 100% sure. I don't think we've really discussed that as a department, what the plan was with those, but I assume it would be best just leaving them in your classroom, just because you never know when and if you're going to need it. You don't have to use it just for remote learning. You can use those tools for other things too.
I understand, but I have some anxiety around the remote learning. Okay, I'll just keep them, Neil. Thank you.
A few people have asked that question, Abby, and I said I think it's worth the keeping because it's a lot of times you can record your class. I've had a teacher before record his class because he was having some behavior issues in the class and had his class watch it back, and it made a huge difference. But also, if you're a mentor and you want to record a lesson that you're doing and share that with your mentor, that sort of thing, like I think the equipment would be worth keeping and hanging on to.
Before we go, I guess one of the questions I've always had about archiving is, it sounds pleasant and like you can go back to the file cabinet and find it again. But I always get the nervous feeling that once you archive it, it's gone forever. Like you can never find it.
It's not. You can find it. And if you always get nervous about that, you could always make copies of things.
How does this work when you have like long-term subs or people that are not the normal teacher? Is there a way to utilize this Google Classroom for them? I mean, does the like, we have some teachers that are going out on maternity leave, let's say, and you have a long-term sub that's going to be in probably for the full year or most of the year. How does that work? They'll have a Google account. Is that all they need?
That is all that they need.
Okay.
And so that's a really great question, Neil. And for long-term subs, if they have a GRCSU account, they can be added as a teacher into Google Classroom. So the way to do that really quick is in my Google Classroom, and I'm going to go to People. And up here where it says Teachers, make sure you're where it says Teachers and not Students. So when I go to add, so if I'm going on maternity leave and I need to add my substitute teacher in, I'm just going to type in, I'm going to say Neil as my sub and invite. And now he'll be able to do all of the same things that I'm able to do. So he'll be able to add assignments. He'll be able to add things into the stream. He'll be able to add other people. He'll be able to put grades in, all those sorts of things. He has the same access that I do. And then when I come back and I don't want him to be part of it anymore, I can just hit remove. And that removes, as Mark said, that removes those files. So Abby's files are no longer in Mark's Google Drive. They will no longer be in that substitute teacher's Google Drive, which the GRCSU account would go. Are there any other Google questions?
Well, I have a question. This is maybe more for Neil. If we have recommendations for Google on like, hey, if you did this, this would be awesome. What's the best way of doing that?
What do you mean if you had recommendations on Google?
I can't think of anything off the top of my head, but every now and again, there's like, oh, if Google could do this. Well, for example, columns. They didn't used to be able to do columns on Google Docs, but finally, now you can do columns. So, like, is there a route for suggesting?
Yeah, there usually is. I'll look into that. I'll send you something. There's usually, I think, like in I don't know if it's within the app or not. Let me research that and I'll send you something about it, of where it might be. You're saying mostly in like Google Drive?
Well, yeah, Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Slides, that kind of
So
stuff.
that's Google Drive. So it's kind of a Google Drive, but more specifically certain services. So yeah, let me look that up. I'll send you something about that.
Has anyone used the whiteboarding collectively in Google Meets?
What was that?
The whiteboarding or
The Jamboard?
like I don't know. It used to be called Jamboard, but now it looks like it's called whiteboarding.
Did you?
Yeah. So I don't know if it pops
Yeah,
up.
it's a Jamboard. That's exactly what it is. That's funny that they call it whiteboard.
And what exactly do you do on a Jamboard? I've never really tried it out. And how would it possibly be useful for students in classrooms and whatnot?
Do you want me to answer that question, Neil?
Sure.
Okay. So what was the first question?
Well,
What
like
is it?
what are some of the functions that you can use with a Jamboard? And I guess I'm looking to, is this a way to engage students in, remotely or even in classrooms?
Yeah, definitely. Can you see the Jamboard that I'm in right now? Do I need to present
Yes.
that, or everybody can just click on it? So the way that this is right now is that you can set a background if you want. So if you wanted to have like grid lines, you could. If you wanted to have graph paper, you can have any background that you want. You can also add in your own. You could do a Google image search just like anything else. So let's just say we wanted to find some music notes for a background. And if it's like the first thing I see. Hi. Who tried that out?
That was me.
Oh, cool. Okay. So yeah, you found the pen already. So now I have my background and I can go ahead and add a text box and I could give kids some directions. Okay, so there's my directions. And then I can change this text box and stretch it out if I want. And then the sticky notes are right here. So when you click on a sticky note, you get to change the color. So whatever color you want. And then you can name your favorite song. And then when you click save, the sticky note goes there and then you can drag it to wherever you want. So this is a really interactive way of kids giving their thoughts and their ideas or answering questions in a way that's not pencil and paper or verbally. I have kiddos that don't always have their voices heard. This is a way for them to have them heard. This is also a really great way to, let's say that you're a classroom teacher and you are learning about endings. So you can have kids write words with the ending ED on them. to practice that spelling. Like it's 1,000,001 different ideas. And then up at the top, there's an arrow for another frame. So these are endless. Like it's basically having endless whiteboards or poster boards or what you want for them. There's also a highlighting tool on the very bottom. So you can click that and then as the teacher point to certain things on the board.
Do you have the ability, like, do other kids, can they manipulate what other people have done?
Yes. So like I just erased your part of your exclamation. So you can. So one of the most important things is setting those expectations, right?
Yep.
It's like any other tool in your classroom. You don't typically, like you wouldn't just hand out the musical instruments and say, here you go. You would give them some background information about how it works, how to handle it, expectations, that sort of.
Yeah, does anyone want to know how to do anything? Having any trouble with something? Everybody's able to use the Google Drive client on their computers, and do they understand how it's being used and things like that? Anyone?
That would be great to review.
What's that? Which part?
The client.
Okay. So let me see here. So the client, basically, I know I installed it on all the computers I distributed to my school, so you should have it on there. If you go to the Cortana search box, so if you go down into the start menu, or you can search for it here, it's changed. Yesterday I referred to it as the Google Drive file stream, and it actually has changed since then. So it's now just the Google Drive app on your computer. And if you actually scroll down, you should see this icon there. And when you open it, it actually opens a folder on your computer. Now this folder is synced with your account online. So I can give you an idea of how that looks when I open up my Windows Drive. So this gives you a view. Can everybody see my two windows that I have open?
Yes.
You can see the Google Drive folder on the Windows side, on the left side here, matches the structure here on in the browser side, on the online. So they're identical. So this is where I refer to it as that magic folder. So what this does is any changes or anything you do within this folder on the Windows side will automatically sync to your drive online. So you never, and vice versa. So if you do anything on your drive on the browser side, any changes you make will sync here too. So that's where the magic folder expression kind of comes from. My advice to teachers is to try to use this, open and save files to this specific location, and you never have to back anything up. Your stuff is always backed up in Google Drive if you get in the habit of doing that. What a lot of people do is they download things to the local drive. It's not in your Google Drive unless you move it. So those kinds of things, if you get in the routine of, moving things or directing them directly to your Google Drive, which is something we can help you with, you never have to worry about losing your files. So that's one of the things that's important when using this. So if you don't have this client on your computer, definitely let us know. And if you're not using it, or if you have any questions about how to use it, it's really knowing where to save things and where to open them from. And if you know where the location of this Google Drive is on your computer, then you can always find it. And it is located under this PC. So if you go to this PC, and you can search that in at the bottom as well, and you'll find the app. You'll see a Google Drive icon here for the G drive. And some of you may remember that from the home drives and the group drives, H drive, G drive. This is basically the same way, except it's just going to your Google Drive online. It also has your shared drives. So everything there is on the Windows side. Now, one of the features that's nice with the client is, as a teacher, is the fact that you never have to back up your stuff. You never have to lose your stuff. You have access to it from anything if you're using this client. And don't forget, we have unlimited storage, so you don't have to worry about, I think it's unlimited. For the most part, it's unlimited. So you could use it as a holding spot for something big, and then when you're done, you can get rid of it. You really should, even if you're not going to use it. Well, you should, even if you're not going to actively use it, you should definitely use it to back up your files, because there's certain places on your Windows machine that are not backed up. So if there's something that happens to your computer, you drop it and the hard drive gets damaged and you can't recover those files, there's nothing we can do to get them back. However, if you're saving them in the Google Drive, they're always there. Your computer breaks, you log back into your drive and resync it, and everything's back. So I think if teachers get in the routine and the habit of using that in that way, they'll benefit greatly from that, and it'll make sense once you start using it if you're having a hard time with it now. But it allows. Oh, one of the things I wanted to mention was that you can organize your folders and your files. You can move things around. You can rename them on the Windows side, which is a lot easier, I think, for people that like to use the Windows side. You can easily maneuver your files around and drag and drop them, cut and paste, and everything, just like you would normally in Windows. And it all syncs. Everything syncs, and it's available on both sides, Windows and Google. And in the end, this is where you get to your stuff from your phone, from your iPad at home, from your personal device. By using this drive, it allows you to access it from any device, and gives you a lot of versatility, including your panel. If you have a Chromebox, that'll, if you move everything to drive, everything from your laptop, you may not even need your laptop anymore. You can totally use that as a secondary device. So that was my little thing for the Google Drive client. It's very important, and it could be a great benefit to teachers to be using that. I think everybody here has it. I know if you're in one of my schools, I'd probably talk to you about it. So it looks like there's a lot of Rutland Town.
Is there a way to default your saving, like when you do an image download or something from the web?
Great question. Yes.
Default saving that into that file as opposed to your Windows PC.
Yes, and actually, let me do this real quick. I can show you. It's a real quick thing. I know we're just about to end. All right, so to do this, you go into the Google Chrome settings, which is the triple dot up here. And actually, it might be easier just to go downloads. So right here, it shows you where your path, where when you click download something from the browser, it's telling you where it's putting it right in my Windows folder for downloads.
Yeah.
You can change that when you click change and say, I want it to go to Google Drive, hit select folder, and now it's going into the root of Google Drive. I might want to go a little farther and go, I think I had a downloads folder, but right here. So I have a downloads folder already in my drive. I'm going to select that folder. So now when I download things, it'll automatically go to my Google Drive downloads folder. It'll also prompt me each time before I do it. So like if you wanted to change locations, you could do that there. But by default, it will always go to your Google Drive. So if you just hit download, boom, it would be downloading to your drive, and it's always backed up. And you can access that from anywhere. I mean, you can sync. There's a different Google Drive client that we don't use, so I'm not going to get into that one. But there's other, might use for an administrator where it backs things up differently. So, but that's something that you might want to use. You'd use for like home use or something.
We have about 2 more minutes. Is there any other questions and things that people wanted to see?
So something to keep in mind if you are going to do that with the downloads, when you do set that downloads folder in Google Chrome, it's not doing it for other browsers. So if you're using Microsoft Edge or Firefox or Safari on your device, you're going to have to do the same thing with that browser. So it's based on the browser. So it's a setting you have to change individually on each browser. But you can point all of them to that Google Drive downloads folder if you want. So most of you are probably using Chrome, but that's important because some people don't always use Chrome